And in 3, 2, 1. Back from the break, kind of. I'm recording this episode before 1:14. It's 1:15 with your main man, Tommy Hiura.
What is poppin', my friend?
Whole ton, obviously. I'm in a new place, new studio, video.
Yeah.
How goes it with yourself?
Just the continuity of me being cringe and starting shows with phrases like, what is poppin'?
What's poppin'?
Yeah.
I appreciate
I'm
it.
glad to be here. It's just like, because I used to be on your show quite a bit, and I'm sure people didn't particularly care or get excited about it. So it was like kind of a problem, right? It was kind of a nuisance. Then it went away for a while. Now I'm like the Delta variant of like your show. Like I'm back, and people are
You
like,
come
fuck,
back.
we got to do this again now?
It's hard to keep you away. I'm kidding. I like text you like multiple times. Hey man, you want to come on this like new show? It's gonna be daily, which is might eventually become a problem.
And then I didn't text you back for like a day and a half, almost. Not even a day and a half. Yeah. And I hit you with, and this is real, sorry for the slow response. My dad just died. So that was a weird one. Sorry about that.
10 seconds away from just responding tombstone emoji.
I'm strongly considering making a podcast tribute to my dad.
Yeah?
I haven't posted on anything about how he passed away 2 days ago as we record this.
Wild.
And yeah, it's one of those things where probably the majority of people experience their parents dying in their lives, right? And it's like one of those seminal kind of milestone, hard, crappy things.
You're next in line. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No,
it happened.
It
straight up happened.
What are the feelings flowing through your plums right now? Man, you keep trying to flick that hat up. Maybe try flicking it around.
Do not comment on the hat. We're talking about such a deep topic. It is a mix of everything you might expect, and then maybe a little more levity and peacefulness and kind of a sense of calm than you might expect, because I loved my dad dearly and deeply, but if you want to say the last week was really, really painful for him, but you could say the last 10 years was really, really hard in his life. So the fact that he's not struggling anymore, the fact that he is not around to feel the kind of emotional pain and the physical pain that manifested from the emotional pain.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good for him. It also really makes me feel a responsibility to use whatever gifts and talents he certainly would think he imbued in me.
Yeah.
Some other people would tell me that hey, you're a pretty smart person, or you're a good writer, or you're a good musician, or something like that. To whatever extent that's true, it's 101% because of him.
Yeah, I push back against a lot of I thank people in my life, and they're like, no, you did this all yourself. I'm like, no, by definition, the show wouldn't be possible without guests. Now without Kenzie, like by the person who got me this this place, like there's so many, literally every good thing that you have in life, in many ways you owe to the community or your family or friends, or something. There's some disease of oh, you have to make it yourself, and everything you have you made yourself,
right? And
therefore if you fail, it's all on you, and it's just this weird what's going on socially.
Reminds me of something that they tried to get Obama on when he was attempting re-election in 2012. The RNC, one of the big phrases they used was a response to him saying, if you've got a business, you didn't build that. There were roads and infrastructure. Other people, there was an education sector that, or public education that trained the workforce and blah, blah, blah. You didn't build that. So the Romney campaign and the RNC, their big thing was, we built it, F you, Obama. And, you got me on the show, so we're going to get to politics,
we have
immediately.
Do you want to take a minute and introduce yourself? You ran for mayor. You spent 1/100th of the dollars of the person who won, and you got second with a fair amount of the votes.
It's probably less than 1/100th.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's definitely less than
2 years' salary on getting reelected.
Right.
That's absurd.
Right.
That's where the current local politics. Nationwide politics aren't real. Local politics are real, I would say. That's something I'll say is real, is the level of who you actually vote for.
It's more permeable, I'll say that. Yeah, it's more tangible, and you can wrap your hands around it, and you can, here's an example of a way that you can really engage. There was a town hall, and pretty much all the local elected officials around here are Democrats, and they were doing a sort of a state legislators town hall together at Alton Baker Park, and they had to end it early because there were a bunch of people, I guess you would say right-wing people, who were there and kind of got in their faces and shouted, and some guy rushed the panel and got in Marty Wilde's face and shouted in his face without a mask and stuff. And
rough.
And that is one way to show that you have a presence, that you're paying attention on some level, and that you can go in and F shit up, but you can also, I don't know, even at the local level, though, it's very hard to advocate in ways that make it feel like there's a quid pro quo, like a simple, like I did X and therefore Z happened.
I jerk you off, you jerk me off. Politician. No. No. Are you going to run again? Like, it's something that I couldn't imagine imbuing that much bureaucracy into my own life, but it's something that you willingly bring on. You say, hey, I want to do that. Like, you raise your hand and say, paperwork all day for the rest of my life? Yes, please.
I would love to answer your question. I'll backpedal and talk about my dad for a second about it because it's related.
You probably shouldn't brush over that.
No. We can talk as much or as little about that as you want because, amazing person. William Glenberger, 69 years old. He died, so not very old, really. I ran for mayor of Eugene. Decided in late 2019 I wanted to run for something. Decided based on who was running for various things and who I felt deserved to have a strong primary challenge. I ran for mayor of Eugene, and I didn't really do it with any money, and I did it. I was unhoused, homeless, living in just my Nissan Leaf, didn't have anywhere else to lay my head at night for much of that campaign. And one of the easy and understandable responses to that would be, why are you jumping into this at 26 years old? You're not going to win, so why would you do it? Like, why, and why don't you wait a while? Why don't you try to credential yourself a little bit more?
Yeah.
And I've got a few responses to that because actually the fact that I ran actually got me this job that I have now.
Holla.
Yeah, which is crazy. And I love this job. Super slick job.
Nice. Which is?
At United Way. I'm the annual giving coordinator at United Way of Lane County.
Cool. At an airport. I'm kidding. United, just immediately word recognition.
Well, we already mentioned Delta. So
we
Delta,
did. Yeah,
United.
You just keep it going. Yeah. And
soon I'll be in.
What is United Way doing? You're wearing the name tag. It may be out of the shot. I'm not sure.
No, it's in the shot. I made sure it was.
I'm guaranteeing it.
But I know that we love to go into a lot of different directions.
There's nothing more that I like doing than stepping over you.
Well, you give me things that I know you want me to talk about, so it's fine. But I still want to finish the response to people saying, why would you run? I knew that my dad wasn't in good health, and that was something that was happening for quite some time. And my dad really inspired me towards being interested in politics. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the hat.
Hat is gone. You just worked a 13-hour shift. You got to be tired at this point. Chugging a double
at two different jobs. It wasn't 13 straight, but it was 13 straight.
It's brutal.
So, one thing I'm thinking about saying in this, I'm gonna try to make some kind of post on social media. Right, you have to do that, but I'm not trying to write a freaking essay long thing. But I sit down and I have more things I want to say. So he's the reason why when I was in elementary school I knew about things like single payer health care or the fairness doctrine, because he was riled up about things that, in that time, it was George W. Bush, and he was very much not a fan and a big critic of George W. Bush for every reason imaginable, not just the war crimes and not just the No Child Left Behind and all this stuff, but very deeply getting mad often from those kinds of things. And
that's something you share, getting mad about politics.
Right. And I think it's pretty cool that he got to see me follow in the footsteps of his activism. He was a big healthcare activist. He was involved with AFSCME union, so he was big in union issues as well. And so, I really liked that I got to do that while he was still around.
Cool.
How it led to me getting the job is I launched the podcast during that campaign, essentially, kind of with the campaign.
And you're already 180 episodes deep.
You're funny. I started at 151.
Rum.
And Malibu rum. And so where was I going with that? Basically, somebody that I know through activism was listening to me, listening to an episode, a recent episode of mine with a guy named Harry Sanger who ran for school board. He was the only person who wasn't hey, I'm a progressive running for school board. Yeah. He doesn't like labels, but he was running kind of a right-wing friendly campaign.
Cool.
And interesting fellow. And we had this conversation where I'm pretty aggressively disagreed with a lot of what he was saying, and he did so with me as well. But like you could tell, like we were affable, we got along. I didn't think that he was evil.
Ended it with an open mouth kiss. The classics.
Yeah. Anyway, and I wish that we would have talked more about like hip hop because like he actually really liked good hip hop and Jedi mind tricks and stuff. So, but instead we just couldn't stop talking about like masks in schools and CRT, critical race theory and stuff. So anyway, so my activist friend listens to that with his partner. And they're like getting mad in the car or wherever they're listening to it. They're like getting excited when I like rebut this guy, But at the same time, like I don't know, when you're doing a podcast interview in quotes with people, you're not trying to steamroll them on everything, right? Like
I am. That's rule number 1. Rules. It's a conversation, not an interview. 2, don't say anything bad about Kanye. 3, don't feed the Kenzie. Episode 115 with Thomas Hiura.
Great, glad to be here.
Rule number 4. Tiger's allowed to steamroll anything at any time.
I love it.
Is there anything I could say that would bring you to tears talking about your dad? Like I imagine over the course of the past 2 days, it's been a lot of emotions flowing through you. Like, what's the pinnacle? Like, what's the essence of what kind of brings you to it? Is it like a level of happiness or gratitude? Obviously, about him imbuing into you your core values of being involved in local politics and advocating for what you care for.
What was the question?
I'm trying to make you cry. No,
I mean, what I want to say in response to that, I don't know if it entirely answers what you're saying, is like one of the emotions that I feel that's very deep, that hits me pretty hard, is that my family, my direct family, has very different perspectives on my dad. And so for the past several years, I was literally, for much of it, the closest person to my dad, and he was always a troublemaker, and he always had psychiatric symptoms of some kind. I don't know exactly what kind of label to put on it. I think I'm comfortable saying he was schizophrenic. I'm comfortable saying he had PTSD, but and he would lash out at his loved ones and then sometimes forget that he had done so, and so like out of feeling loneliness and out of feeling not the kind of attention that he wanted to have because he was a deeply sensitive person, he would get upset at the people who were around, who did stick around sometimes. And so you kind of had to keep him at arm's length at times. But I say all of this to say that there was a lot of pressure and challenge from. I don't think it's that exaggeration to say that I kept that man alive longer than he could have. He could have gone sooner. I mean, he had called me many times, saying that he was on the verge of death, and that was his way of trying to get me to spend more time on the phone with him. Sometimes he basically, because I brought that up later, I was like, because trying to be well educated about like what relationship dynamics and stuff. People will say that like a tactic of a manipulator is say don't leave me or I'll commit suicide or things like that. So I
pulls it on me all the time.
I mentioned that and I said and I was like that's a hard situation when you pick up the phone and that like you might be your dad saying that he is like at that point.
And it may legitimately be the last time.
And one thing he said was like, well, what did you want me to do? Just kill myself? That kind of thing. And so,
wow.
And so anyway, it was really, I even feel just like by going quote unquote on the record talking about this, that I feel like I should paint him better, because
you should have started recording them as a podcast, and it would have felt productive. Because, with the way society is right now, you have to feel productive with every amount of your time. So you could have started recording it as podcast with my schizophrenic dad calling me on the verge.
Yeah.
It could have blown up. For all you know, the most strange things, interesting things blow up these days.
Really nice there, Tiger. Way to trivialize some of the most fucked up things I ever had to go through, and commodify them, no less.
Well, if anything, like
do a little ad, like hang on, Dad. Blue Apron. Have you heard about these?
Blue Chew. If you can't get on.
Yeah.
Tim Dillon. But a lot of people save voicemails and
Magic
stuff from
spoon.
their parents. Magic spoon. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, if anything, I may light up a joint, and you can light yours up later if you choose to. It is just CBD for people watching. If I start lighting,
he's not lying too. That's such an easy thing to say, but it's literally the pure CBD.
Pure CBD,
I'll burn it
motherfuckers.
with you.
It is nice. I realize in this process, because obviously I've done a couple tester joints per se, that smoking a whole joint on your own, not like sharing it with people, it's a lot. A joint, if this was all THC, I don't actually think I'd be able to finish the show. I have done, I would say every episode between 80 and 120 was on Adderall, and one of them was on MDMA really early. But I tried
Am I
one
allowed
episode
to
on
talk
weed.
about what drugs you've done in front of me? Kratom, how many shows do you do with that on that?
Oh,
Kratom?
I have been on Kratom most every hour of the day for the past 4 or 5 years. I don't think that's that bad of a thing to say. I mean, it's not technically illegal. It's kind of like people who are like, I'm addicted to coffee.
Right.
What every addict says.
Yeah. I mean, I was ready to light, like, flick your bick kind of thing, man. You're handing me, like, what is this?
The granddaddy torch.
yeah, no, it's good. Yeah. Was there other stuff you wanted to know about? Before we started rolling, you were like, tell me about this nonprofit.
Yeah. What is that? Let's make a mad dash away from emotions, which I have to trivialize and run away from.
No, I love talking about emotions. I used to get overly sappy with people when I'd interview them on this Humans of Carlton project I did in college. So I'm willing to go there. In fact, I don't think I totally closed one little knot. Tie the knot on this other thing. My friend who is an activist who's listening to the Harry Sanger episode of my podcast, they were like getting mad at like my guests and stuff, and they basically, like, his partner works at United Way. She's been working there for about 5 years, Alma, and she's an amazing person. And like they reached out to me saying, just strictly basically from that, and also because she had seen a rap video that I put out when I was running for mayor, the Eminem Godzilla cover. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Was that the one you recorded on Spencer's?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Chamo T. Yeah, so...
Spencer. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, so she basically was like, oh, this person would be great. Like, they're like trying to do a restructuring of their office of like, basically like, nonprofits and United Way, like, we have been too cozy with white supremacy and things like in the past, and reinforcing, racist structures. And, we've learned so much in the past year. We want to try to...
Weird thing to brag. We've been really cozy with white supremacy up until now.
Oh, my God. What happened? It's not a brag. It's them saying, let's try to fix it.
Yeah, okay, sure.
So, anyway.
That's cool that a podcast in many ways got you your current job.
And I'm not, like, it's fundraising. Annual giving coordinator. I'm reaching out to all these, like, businesses and people that have run workplace campaigns to donate to us in the past. And
how Obama started.
I'm not that guy. I'm not. Yeah, well, he was. Yeah, he was a community organizer. It's true.
A lot of people, politicians do.
Yeah.
Bureaucrats, pure replicators.
Mm-hmm.
No, but you are
I'm
someone.
Like this. So say some intriguing stuff for like 30 minutes. 30 seconds.
30 minutes. Just take up half the show. I would say, in the exact same way that a podcast got you your current job, a podcast got me my current job. And where I'm living next to is the episode coming out right before this. For everyone listening, this is the first like official show I'm recording, but I already promised the first episode to episode 114 with Mark Fronmeyer. I reached out and I was going to do a podcast with him right before Kenzie and I went down to San Francisco, Santa Cruz area. And it's 2 months ago, and now I'm living next door to him and working kind of as a contractor with Arcimoto. So absolute trip. Podcast gets you jobs, turns out.
Nice. I didn't know that you were involved with Arcimoto. That's beautiful.
Beautiful. I'm getting more and more involved. Doing mostly videography work. It's funny and kind of ironic that Kenzie's the head videographer of the show, but but you know what?
Yeah, she's rocking it.
I know. So anyways, I'm mostly making TikToks right now, which is funny because years ago it's an app that I would have made fun of, but it's an app that I guess we both used at one point. Addicting, is it not?
Yeah. Oh, I definitely was there for quite some time early on, being like, I'm enthralled by the way this sucks you in, and also just that, like, it almost makes me think about, like, this couldn't have happened 5-10 years ago. And so, like, thinking deeply about the cultural moment that reinforces this kind of endless scroll that's so well tailored towards it's just a well-honed algorithm in terms of like, okay, you want to see like these people dancing, cool, but like also do you want to see like these people like throwing a card into like across a room and landing it in like a paperclip? Ooh,
the more
you tired of that? Oh, don't worry, we've got a recipe of some really like stonerlicious, like, let's put an enchilada in a pizza.
Stonerlicious, love that.
Yeah. It's too much. It's the app is literally made to just be like, nothing else in your life matters. You don't need an attention span. Just do this. You can just do this for 4 hours. Nothing else matters.
It's funny.
Because I wasn't in Vine. You're 1 or 2 years older than me. You're kind of a boomer. You were probably in Vine.
Yeah. It's the greatest generation. Thank you.
They hoard all the wealth, change the rules to make it really hard for other people. Why don't you just do the same thing we did and succeed? Not possible anymore.
Yeah.
No, I've been leaning very heavy, and I guess I always have slurs like Karen and Boomer and stuff. I'm like, there's something empowering about saying them. If it doesn't like toe the line too far, it's like some people are just bitches that you deal with, where they're just the worst person you've ever dealt with. Kenzie.
By definition, some people can't be the worst person you've ever dealt with. Only one person can be the worst.
Good point. Any given day.
But this is how it always goes. Is like I'm very like precision of languagey. And it's annoying, and like
I'm the essence of bombastic. My speech doesn't matter at all. I mean, what's funny is for most other
Stream
people,
of consciousness.
I hone into them. Like when they say something and it wasn't exactly right, I kind of like, wait, do you mean this? So I often take on the role that you do around me. But then when I have someone else who can take on the roles of like, let's rein it in a little bit, I get to be freestyle, which is it's an enjoyable place to be. I mean, it's got me here in a room covered in tapestries with my favorite person and one of my other favorite people. Bombastic with my speech. I can have multiple favorite people, right?
I dig it. Yeah. If you weren't a person, like, what do you think you would be? Doesn't have to be an animal. Would you be like a concept? Would you be like
I'd be Kenzie.
A book? Nice.
Books are for losers. Actually, I mean, you probably see a book that I've given away to quite a few people. You were number 36. I gave it to you at Spencer's. You probably didn't even
I know
crack
exactly
it open,
where it is right now.
Really?
Yes. I look at it every day.
That's very wonderful.
The outside of it.
Someone literally today like looked at me. They're like, "I read that whole book in one sitting." I'm like, it's kind of the opposite of the point of the book, but
yeah,
you know what? Better than nothing. Yeah.
That actually made it even less intriguing to me. We're talking about the greatest showman in the world, right?
Greatest salesman.
Greatest salesman. Sorry. The fact that I couldn't just tear through it, because that like hyper focus whatever thing I do
TikTok.
that like yeah, let me like not be all that interested in stuff for a while, but then like let me hyper fixate. That's what it was on some shit. Let's do that. Yeah.
I like it. Have you had any bad habits during this break? I will say I myself have gone into vaping Juuls.
Well, I've been like
not sponsored.
Not sponsored. I mean, vaping a nicotine product.
Bad habits. It's actually an interesting time to ask that question because I definitely feel like I've come into a lot of good habits lately.
Very cool.
And not as a direct result of the pandemic or anything, but just I don't know. I've been on an upswing in a lot of ways. So, what's a bad habit? Like I could still get too sucked into the game Fall Guys. Fall Guys is very and like.
Of all games, that's the funniest thing. I mean,
they're on season 5, and they keep adding cool stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
You probably remember me trying to get you into Genshin Impact. Kenzie and I still play that time to time.
Nice.
It was nothing like October, November, December, when the world was literally falling apart. We're like, oh, supply chains might stop. Why not just enjoy it before the end? Which I still kind of feel like you read about, like, oceanic collapse, and I'm like, is there a point in really trying? It's like, it's dark when you look at the world as a whole, and then you look at it like on a small scale. Like you walk outside, and it's decently nice weather. We have smoke right now in Oregon, which sucks, and we have smoke in this room, which is wonderful. But it's dark the more you look at like the dark side of life. Like, do you kind of like hone that off to build your good habits, or like what level of looking into that void do you still say it's worth it to do these things that aren't maybe super fun right now?
There was a quote that impacted me recently from my therapist after she found out that my dad had passed, and basically it was like I don't remember I'm gonna mess up. I don't even remember who said the quote, but basically she's the author of the quote said something like it ended with beautiful people don't just happen. She was basically saying like when a lot of rough shit happens to you, it's a gift because it doesn't seem like that at the time, but you adapt to those kinds of hardships, and it builds an empathy that a lot of people don't get to experience because they haven't been through those kinds of hardships.
Yeah.
And basically, it ended with like beautiful people don't just happen. And the reason I say that in regard to what you're saying is because like solutions to the darkness in the world don't just happen. It sounds corny and it sounds like I don't know, like meritocracy or like hyper individualist or something, but the shit that you're talking about, I don't think it's going to fix itself unless like individuals seriously commit themselves
I agree 100%.
to being like, what's my place in fixing this?
Well, it's so
I
fascinating.
don't know
about
what problem you're talking about. Like, I mean, vaguely COVID, wildfires, climate change,
the ocean and stuff. I would have Kenzie Google that, but you can actually hear my computer whining. So there's no Googling this show, but I'm pretty sure that's a quote by Saddam Hussein. You just go to a therapist. Your main takeaway is one Facebook quote that you scrolled through. It's like she just scrolled through that like minutes before you came in. She just like listens to you talk, baked as fuck, high on Ambien. She just like reiterates the Facebook quote back to you. But it was meaningful and impactful. No, you may remember as someone who's listened to an episode or two and been on my show more than an episode or two.
I've probably listened to a solid 30 episodes of your show.
Cool. You know how much I've probably railed on therapy, but it's something you've been to in the past couple days. Mm-hmm. Is this something you have gained enough from that you would promote it to others? And did you have to like go through a slew of horrible therapists before you found the one? I've
been through about 5 therapists in my life, most of whom were pretty cool people. There are just like, I don't know. I'm not a good fit for it in a lot of ways. It'd be really cool to have someone on like kind of who has a deep commitment to what you're doing and can follow up with you, follow along with what you're saying and talking about in your life, but isn't like just like 1 hour a week at the same time every week.
Like a partner almost.
Well, more like kind of on call, you know. And so that's, I mean, you always hear BetterHelp or whatever. So that's, I'm not so sure if I'm like the perfect case study to say like, yes, therapy made me better in this way or whatever.
He's not the person to say. He is against therapy. That's on the air now. I'm kidding. What makes you not the perfect person?
You know, another thing is many times in the past in my life, I have been voluntarily going to therapy. My first experience ever with therapy was when I was asked to go to therapy by the principal of North Eugene, Ann Irwin, because like my dad had recently gone to jail and my family was falling apart, and I felt a lot of pressure to keep succeeding in school and blah, 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 and taking on too many extracurriculars and then figuring out what college I was going to go to. So it was a really messed up time in my life. So that was kind of compulsory, which was kind of weird. I didn't have a great experience with that guy, Mark Oldham.
Shout out to a bad therapist. Say a full name after listing someone.
Yeah.
Had a bad time.
He could have done better. Let's be real.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, it should be 8 hours long. It should be one whole day.
And then the most recent thing, I don't think I've talked about it on your show before, but in 2019, I, for the first time, kind of had a manic episode that, you know, I had a psychotic break. And
were you chasing down a cop or something?
A cop did pull me over and pulled a gun on me, and then it was an interesting scenario. Nobody got hurt. Which is good, but yeah, I definitely feared for my life and didn't know what the hell was going on, and it was crazy. And you know, it's interesting because I remember a lot of it well, even though it was a totally messed up frame of mind that I was in, you know. And it was desperation.
Was it a good frame of mind? Like if
it's switched a lot. It switched back and forth a lot between being like, oh my gosh, I just accomplished my life's purpose, thinking that I had done something incredibly significant and wonderful, and like that I was in communion with God, and also realizing like, wait a minute, this is like really scary and I might die, but is dying a good thing? And like all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that was, you know, I believe that a lot of people might be closer to a situation like that than I don't know, than they think. But maybe that's just me trying to rationalize, say, I'm not too abnormal, but my point is that I'm not particularly ashamed of it, but it did lead to me having to. There was 2 counts of criminal mischief, is what the charges got reduced to.
Mischievous motherfucker.
Yeah. I drove through a fence.
Nice.
Not nice. I thought I was invincible and that this was a dream and nothing.
And
there weren't going to be any consequences.
Was your Prius
so I did something that.
Different car.
It was a Prius. Yeah. I went through the fence.
I haven't seen a single dent on your Prius. Did it go through that fence and not even have a single scratch on it, or you just sticker right over it?
No. You're missing the point.
I'm not missing the point. I'm missing.
But so I've had to be in this mental health court program. That shit has been dragged on a really long time. It's supposed to. They say it's going to be a year, but then there's like a bunch of things that lead to it being longer than a year. Mm-hmm. So my therapy that I've been going to is something that is once again like I'm expected to do it as a result of this program, and that adds a layer of something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you get bored and fuck with them ever?
Sometimes I get bored, and if it's on Zoom, I don't pay much attention, and I'm like downloading videos in another tab or something. You know,
TikTok right next to the webcam. That'd be goofy.
Oh, actually, yeah. I've played Pokemon with my hand under the webcam, so you can see.
How have you stayed interested in Pokemon Go this whole time? Like Genshin Impact, I was so into, but then we hit the end.
Yeah.
where there was not really like enough PvP to keep it interesting, so we stopped it. But like my understanding is Pokemon Go like has an end, and you're like one of the top people in Eugene, are you not?
It depends on what you say is top. I mean, top 50 for sure, but maybe
that on your resume.
top 10, maybe top 5.
Put it on
It's
your
hard to
resume.
say.
I play Pokemon Go very well.
I mean, usually you're talking about experience, which leads to level when you're talking about who's in the top, and like you can't be at the top without paying a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So that's like
you raise money. What does United Way actually do?
nice
what a
segue.
bridge! What a bridge! It's like we're almost like playing Chutes and Ladders.
It's a really valid question.
Yeah.
Really valid question.
Wow.
Because I didn't know until I was a part of it, and now that I am a part of it, on some level I still don't know. But for the most part, I do know.
But you have to convince people, don't you?
And I want to say, even though I'm wearing this name tag, I'm wearing both these name tags because like I want to display that I look raggedy, and like because I worked
That's why I brought it up.
2 shifts today. These are both my name tags for my shifts.
This she just got off 13 hours of working.
Damn right,
Twerking your ass
they
off.
and he and she did. Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
it-
dude, the progressive leftist gender activists, they don't want to mess up your life, dude. They just want you to say they and she and he every single time you refer to me. Deal with it.
I've used it to my advantage. I've
Deal with
applied
it.
for a position and gone, who's going to catch me if I say neither of the above? Much like people who get the therapy animals, and it kind of makes it harder for everyone else with a therapy animal, so I am a monster for this and
Yeah.
multiple other things.
Yeah.
But I'm like, maybe they'll give me a job because of this, because they need to, what is it? They've been friendly, they've been cozy with white supremacy up until now. Maybe they need to hire one of these people, and it's like a box they need to check. I'm like, I could be that box.
There's this woman
I like being a little spoon.
There's this woman I knew same here, in college named Molly Weatherall. She was a year above me, and she was a super like climate activist, but generally was like a leading activist on our campus. And like, I've just always wanted to spill the tea that she totally lied and said she was black to get into Carleton, and that was such a hypocritical thing.
Yeah.
because like she and some of her friends kind of treated me like shit, and after that I was kind of like, oh, now that I know this about you, I really wish that I just was petty enough to tell people. So here's me winning right now and getting back and being like, yeah, those things you did were really unjust and
They can't
unfounded
do anything
and
about
based
it.
on a bunch of BS.
I know because I specifically talk shit about OSU, and I had to look up. They can't take away your degree, and they cannot. Because if they could,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my god, that would be a different world.
Yeah.
If they get rid of your money too, though, that would be maybe worth it. Would you give up your money to get and your degree?
What money?
Or I mean, like resolve
Sorry.
any debt in order to give up your degree. Unless you were probably a full scholarship person, weren't you?
Blessed, dude. Hashtag blessed.
Nice. It's a golden place to be.
It keeps going, bro.
I'm not
It's nuts.
in crushing debt. I'm kidding.
It's nuts. 2011. I wasn't even halfway through my senior year of high school, and I like wrote these 8 essays, and like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and not particularly proud of it now because like you learn more stuff about Bill Gates, and you're like, oh, maybe I don't like him that much as a person, and then you find out. Yeah, but at that time you
I would
find out
not
like
have expected that from you. A lot of people from the left put blinders on for Bill Gates, and you're like, good. But you are a very nuanced person, which I'm finding again and again.
That would be such a silly leftist. You can't really be a leftist and be like, yeah, but Bill Gates and I are chill. Like that's not.
I think you'd be surprised.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you
Much
mean.
like a lot of right-wing people like put on blinders for Tucker Carlson, Daddy Tucker, as they like to say it. Just progressively put words in their mouth. All right-wing people just want to blow Tucker Carlson. All left-wing people want to give Bill Gates a hug.
Huh. All right.
But anyways,
good show, dude. That was really good.
As
I
an
like
anti-Bill Gates fan, what pushed you over the edge for him? For me, I really don't like or dislike the guy. I don't like how much of an activist he is and how much like money should get to dictate. I get power over the world. I'm like, that's suspicious. Although I don't also like government having power over the world. So it's a weird balance of like, well, who do you want to control everything?
I get so interested in not making sure that I don't level harsh critiques against people unless I know for a fact that they're true. So we can like talk
Nice.
later about like what kinds of things that I have heard that I think are well corroborated about him.
Yeah.
In general, the broad strokes I could tell you is that like
He looks like a
it's
turtle.
like being one of the richest people in the world shouldn't mean that you are like elevated in terms of like your opinion and your position on public health issues should be considered like the most credible just because you made a bunch of money selling software that you ripped off of someone else. Like, that's
sounds like we're pretty
weird.
In line with our biggest like dislikes about it.
Weird.
Like, money shouldn't equal power. It's a weird thing.
It shouldn't equal like universal credibility in anything.
Yeah.
Like like I love LeBron James, and I actually think like for example, a lot of people don't like him being into his social activism stuff.
I hate all basketball players.
That I'm less in that camp of like shut up and dribble LeBron, but like should LeBron automatically be able to tell you like
cut that out is literally just a soundbite. Shut up and dribble LeBron.
That's what Laura Ingraham said on Fox News.
Oh really? I was gonna say,
she was like shut up and dribble.
Wow.
And so
on Fox News as a big
but like
Fox
if LeBron
watcher.
just decided, hey, I have a lot of money, you guys want to know how to shuck some clams, and you've never shucked a clam, why would I then be like, oh yeah, LeBron knows how to do this?
Good point.
Know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Valid criticisms. But yeah. Now that the pandemic is with any luck, I was going to say coming to an end. Halfway through the sentence, I'm like, I guess we're going back into phase 2, aren't we?
I strongly considered putting a mask on before coming in here.
Wow. Do you have plans for the second lockdown? Are you like, didn't you move in with one of Jeremy's friends actually?
Yes.
Jeremy when he was over, he's like, I've seen Thomas a little bit lately.
Well, it's cool. Jeremy's friend, Grief, his name's Julian.
Name. Oh, I thought you said Grief was his name.
His name is his rap name, and what his homies call him is Grief. He fell into my lap, dude.
Cool.
Yeah. He came into my life. There was a previous roommate I had who, woof. That's all I'm gonna say.
Woof.
And then he was gone, and then I needed a new roommate, and then Julian came in here, and we picked up the pieces, and
nice.
Our apartment is super chill-ish. My stuff is everywhere. I got to get rid of stuff, dude. I used to have a bunch of stuff in storage. Now, like,
why are you paying for storage?
Large corners of the living room are what I use as storage. And it's not very nice because the living room should be peaceful. So
should be. That said, you just walk through our living room. It's our bedroom.
It's dope.
Thank you very much. I mean, a lot of people are like, "Wait, you live in the living room and you have 2 like just random rooms?"
That's fly, dude. I like that.
Well, we're like, why the fuck not? I mean, you can't do it with like another like a non-romantic room. Wait, hold up. You have a romantic partner. You're not living with your partner.
I do. Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm not living with my partner.
Does she get hurt? Does she like? You're just gonna go spend time with Faint? Or wait, what's it? Faint?
Grief.
Sorry, like, what is it again? Julian. I feel like I mean, you obviously know we've been together like 5 years.
Here's a way for me to bring up my dad. You know how you just mix up Grief with Faint?
Yeah.
So like, I love ICP, Insane Clown Posse, and like kind of the main member is Violent J, and like quick side note, like Brandon Davis, my buddy, like we couldn't remember his name and was like, wasn't that guy's name like Psycho Mike or something? And then my dad had the best variation of it. He couldn't remember Violet J's name, so he was like, "How's Poison Bob?" Like still listening to Poison Bob.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Do you do the face paint and everything?
I have.
You have. You have a photo of it.
From 8th grade.
Nice. I'd like to see
Lulu Becerra on my right, Shayna Qualley on my left. It was a great picture. Used to be my MySpace picture for a while.
I like it. So you're happy with who you're currently locking down with? Because like that's a big thing that Kenzie and I like right before this lockdown we jumped to. We're at a new place.
It's not a lockdown.
It's not?
I mean, I don't think. I mean, maybe cat's out of the bag, dude. I mean, there's some people that maybe if Governor Brown and other of the left-wing governors and with Biden's backing kind of said, like, hey, you really should shelter in place again. Like, there's some people that would do it, but...
Yeah. We got to see Kate Brown in person. She gave a speech at Portland International Raceway right before, like, at the Arcimoto event.
Oh, sweet.
She, like, went up and spoke, and it was just all about, like, Green New Deal or, like, EV credits. I'm like, who cares about this? Start playing Pokemon. It's just some random thing. She's dedicated her whole life to it. No, like, honestly.
Yeah, no, I met Kate Brown before she was governor, when she was Secretary of State. I mean, she's always been a very strong advocate for Planned Parenthood, and 2013.
It astounds me how early in your life you got attuned to this sort of thing. Like, not a lot of, 15-year-old kids who are just like, you know what I really like? Politicians. I want to meet them. I want to greet them. And I want to be in that world. But you, for some reason, were like, that's my path. Again, I'm honing into the question of why would you invite all that bureaucracy in your life? I specifically, anytime I'm in a position where I'm surrounded by people who just, follow rule books, I'm like, I feel uncomfortable here. And you feel comfortable. You feel at peace in environments where there's.
Don't you think there are a lot of people that would be considered politicians because they've been in elective office that don't necessarily follow by the rule book? And I might be more like akin to them in my spirit and like
nice.
and like
You're a badass politician.
I mean, we've talked about Bernie Sanders being somebody that we've both admired.
But his day-to-day is probably filled with so much paperwork and emails and bureaucracy that it is more than I will probably deal with in my lifetime
It's
in
also
1
pretty
week.
interesting because as he's become the Senate budget chair, he's kind of an insider now. He's like spent his whole political career being like, fuck the Washington elite, and now he's like one of the most powerful and like central people in passing the Biden agenda.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've done my best to tune out. Ever since about December, I was realizing I was in the one biggest depressive episode of my life of like deep rest, just sleeping, playing video games, watching TV constantly. Mm-hmm. And then I realized like the biggest factor in this was that I was listening to news or scrolling through Reddit news, and I was like, oh, this is for me personally brain poison. I tell a lot of other people and they take quite a bit of offense by it. But you can watch. I mean, you quoted just someone Maddow on Fox News, so you watch some level of Fox News and I imagine left-wing media to some extent.
Quoted Laura Ingraham,
and it doesn't melt your brain.
I appreciate there's a small but growing movement of people who have a credible journalistic background, who have extreme skepticism about mainstream corporate media, and that are also putting out regular good content. Like, are you subscribed to anyone on Substack?
No, not one. I've heard Jesse Singal on every podcast, though.
It's pretty cool when you get like these journalists who say, I don't want to be attached to editors, for one thing, that are going to seriously color the framework and the lens of any article that someone submits to the Washington Post, New York Times, whatever it may be. And also just like, not wanting to carry forward the interests of that media group and just want to tell the story as they see it, or write an editorial as they see it. So, but anyway, like there's some good shows / podcasts that, like I like Crystal and Sagar, Breaking Points used to be Rising. I like Katie Halper and Matt Taibbi, Useful Idiots. I like Glenn Greenwald.
Wow, that's surprising. It seems like...
Is it? I've been told I look like Glenn Greenwald.
I don't know what he looks like. I know he lives in Brazil, and he's moderately right-wing. And I may be wrong with that.
See, now I wish I hadn't turned my phone off to be respectful of your show.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
If I pulled up a picture, you'd be like, yeah, Glenn Greenwald looks like you.
Can I just start calling you the mischievous Glenn Greenwald? I mean, you're forever in my mind. You have 2 accounts of mischief. That's something that most people
pretty nice.
Proud. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
lax.
It's
not nice.
It's not nice. It makes me go to therapy.
It should take like 3 years to get expunged. So
nice.
That's not my favorite thing ever.
No.
But
what
nothing
is your
serious.
favorite thing ever, except Pokemon Go? And your partner?
My favorite thing ever is recognizing how much human beings have in common with one another and how little we have that actually makes us different from one another.
That shout back to
probably my favorite thing ever.
Call back to episode 9 or 10, like whenever you first came on the show, we talked about like the core things that bring all humanity together, and at that point mine was happiness, health, and wealth, or happiness, health, and freedom, and you had a whole list of one, and then I think I rebutted with, that's pretty much for saying the same thing. You're like, no, we're specifically not saying the same thing. Right. I've retooled mine into, I think what everyone wants is to, I think you involved community a lot in yours, but pretty much like reduce the suffering of others, promote happiness and health. You want the community to be a place of like warmth and embrace that like allows people to flourish. And I'm like, you know what? I'm heading a lot more community centric than I ever was, which is a really good feeling. To have, like, people who you have a similar alignment and beliefs with.
Yeah, one thing that I really like from my job with United Way, which I never actually told you what we do.
No.
The talking point is that we ensure that young people can thrive in school and life. So there's like 4 main goals that we contribute to. We fundraise, and then we allocate a lot of money to other organizations that do work on the ground, but we also do health initiatives programming and education programming. So we do direct work, and we also do work that funds other nonprofits. And or pre-K literacy, for example, and like making sure that students are ready for high school, and funding a lot of things like that. So that's a big part of what we do. Nice.
So you find it meaningful. By the way,
got there that I don't remember.
Just so everyone knows, it is unbelievably warm in here. It's the summer. We're on a second story. We have
Are you making excuses for me being all sweaty? That's
no,
so
not
nice
even
of
you, but me. I'm just sitting here. I'm like lizard braining up. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so fucking hot, man. We're probably like 45 minutes into this show, and I want to spend the 15.
I would guess like 39.
You would?
What do we got?
She doesn't know how to
Yeah,
check.
da-da-da.
44.
You
Better
beat
than
me.
you would have
You beat me.
anticipated. Yeah, pretty good. And I also looked at it like 3 minutes ago, so I may have cheated.
That's like classic me. Like people like people have told me, do you realize how long you're talking right now? You're talking quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a good place to be. I have been doing my best to talk less and just try to like look at other people in social situations.
Mm-hmm.
I realized in myself that I don't like being in groups of larger than like 5, and if I am, I don't want to talk or have like be the center of attention for even more than like a one quick whip or like a quip or something, because it's like, oh, and then you see the people who are just like talking all the time, and it's like one-on-one, 3 people, maybe even 4 is like a really good dynamic. But once you start getting too many people, like people start queuing up what they're saying, and it's like you know, I'm like, I have been talking less compared to how much I used to.
I texted my partner Haley. I actually called her. Yeah, on my way here because she got out of work at around the exact same time that I got out of work early tonight.
Thank you, by the way.
It was really nice. It was a very coincidentally positive thing that happened.
You didn't tell your boss? Like,
I didn't.
Hey, I have a
I
cool
didn't
show.
ask for it. No.
Wow.
Yeah. No,
Oh, cool.
It just worked out nicely.
Score.
So I was like, "Hey, babe, like I've got this idea," and she was like, "Yeah." She's like, "She knew I was podcasting with you on your show," and I was like, "You should come through. You should be on the podcast."
That's so funny.
She shut it down right away. Yeah.
And honestly, I pitched that idea to a lot of people. I'm like, oh, I'll have someone that you know on. You could come in, and I'm like, I don't have a setup for a third person. I said I would to people. I'm like, oh, I'll have these big multi-person
I imagine
shows.
she would be like right next to me, but
That's how I'm gonna have to do it. And luckily, we have a kneeling chair. I was gonna pitch it to Kenzie. She's like, I'm not gonna kneel for an hour. I'm like, just try it for like one episode. She's like, no. Which is understandable. Not a chance. But maybe I'll try it
I just
eventually.
swallowed some ice. That was good.
That's why I don't like small ice cubes. We're a big ice cube family here. If anything, the thing that I'm on the fence about is, so these are the same chairs that Joe Rogan uses. These are Capiscos.
Oh, really?
And at most, you're the one person
You
who's
say with the brick background.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I'm like, man, I'm going to go for just a little while. If anything, Rick Hubble, my old roommate up at OSU, because he's the one who got me into Joe Rogan, I'm going to put curtains behind him when he comes on. I'm just going to be like, well, isn't this cathartic? You know, just like you find, like, probably will never go on Joe Rogan, as I probably, like, most people never will.
You are unlikely to get on the Joe Rogan experience even if you made that a goal, right? You're unlikely to do it. I'm not trying to be cynical, but I bet you could get someone who's been on it.
Oh,
Think
yeah.
about it. If you really come through, you might have to do it over Zoom, but you could get some professor who, you know, that'd be kind of tight. And then, like, don't tell them that that's what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
But then ambush them with those questions.
How do I get on Joe Rogan? What exactly is it? Do you have his phone number? Do you have his home address? I just keep getting, like, the guy's like, I'm going to shut the Zoom call off. I have Joseph Ledoux, who went on his show, following me back on Twitter, which, speaking of, the internet's a wild place. I mean, like, a lot of connections that I'm making lately, like how I connected with the Arcimoto folks and how I'm living here, is through the internet. The internet's almost like a magnet. Like, I'm finding viewing my phone as a magnet that leads me toward other really cool people.
Yeah.
It's been it's a lot healthier way to look at it, other than this, like, poison box that sucks up hours of my day.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But
yeah.
Anyways, I don't know.
I feel like I've been actually ever since I stopped smoking weed. Which I want to smoke weed again, but I'm not allowed to because of my program.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can still recognize positives of, like, okay, my liberty is, like, entirely gone, but, like, there's some positives about that, right?
Yeah.
And, like, when I would get stoned, I would be, like, mad at my phone. Not, like, in the conventional, like, oh, I'm mad at, like, all the stuff that, like, Facebook's making me mad about and stuff. I'm just be like, why am I so attached to you? And, like, you're hurting me so much, and, like, go away, but then I pick you up.
Yeah,
you know?
It's found a way to get onto my wrist at this point.
Yeah.
Now it literally never leaves me. It's an interesting place to be.
Yeah. You can actually, like, do calls. Like, you can hear it, and it's microphone and a speaker, right?
Could not be a big rap. I mean, Kenzie says all the time that's her favorite purchase she's made.
Nice. Said it today.
Yeah, she said it literally today.
I love it.
It's that good of a purchase.
That's dope.
We're a full Apple family at this point. We bought some Apple stock.
So could you be, like, miles away from your phone and it would still do that shit? Like,
so this little red ring means cellular, and we both have it, and neither of us have gone to Verizon for her and Google for me. Neither of us actually have the cellular on the watch, but it's capable of it, and we're just too lazy, or it's, like, too meticulous to do. Like, you have to have a code, and it's like,
sure. No, it's
but,
cool.
But hypothetically, yeah, we can be out, and we can actually just walkie-talkie each other. So we don't have to, like, make a call, and, like, you can do a lot of cool things. You get to see the air quality index and stuff like that, which I've been checking, because, like, 73 right now. So we have these windows open. If anything, could I finish your joint?
Please do.
Dope.
Please do. Yeah, there's the paranoia, right? Like, I'm so close to the end with this program, and Like, if I smoked the whole thing, like, would I come close enough to maybe have a questionable drug test? Yeah, so that's part of why I only touched it a little bit.
For COVID, I'm gonna...
But also, it's just disappointing, like, as somebody who used to really enjoy smoking weed, like, okay, I'm smoking this, but, like, it's not weed.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's a nice thing to offer guests on the show.
It tastes like weed, it smells like weed, it's not weed, like, come on.
I get to give people the weed experience, but I don't want every guest to be stoned. So it's like a good middle ground.
Not. Some people would be awful for it.
I would be awful for it. Let's be honest here.
No, not necessarily.
Nice.
I used to do weed on my show back when it was called Less Stupid.
Do weed?
I did it from time to time. The second episode with Kyron Johnson, the episode 152, which was, of course, the second episode,
which is so funny. I might catch up to you.
That Kid Cry, who was a rapper in Salem. We were passing the bong during, and yeah. I had mine with Robert Patterson, and we smoked beforehand. And that's what he blamed his really weird, unusual, like, I don't know. There was, in many ways, that was really cool, but there was, like, very unusual pauses during that.
Well, you're going to name your show Long Pauses with Tommy Hiura, right?
I was, yeah.
Never did. Kenzie's still figuring out her name. It could be Listening with Kenzie as a direct rebuttal to my show. Kicking it with Kenzie. But then you have that apostrophe. It's like, who do you suppose? Like kicking or kick in. You have to... There's so many things that I'm realizing, like, I might change it back to Tiger Talks eventually. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I just talk over you.
Yeah. So what do you think about this? So I was talking to, actually, a friend of mine who also has a podcast, funny enough, Peter Feliciano. He was kind of talking to me once about how his dad, who's a very successful trombone player and musician, he tells Peter, like, people got to know who you are. Like, people got to know what you're doing, have some kind of angle, you got to play into some kind of marketing and branding understanding that people can have.
They want to root for you.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, here's the thing with Talks with Tiger, right? And also with my show, I'll be the first to say it.
Who is this?
The real question is, like, what are you bringing to the world of podcasting or the world of media or just people's lives that they can't get elsewhere? And often, like, okay, here's my question, like, are you like credentialed in something to where it's like, okay, like, oh, Tiger the kinesiologist, Tiger the electric vehicle employee guy, he's doing the show now. Like, people like to latch onto those really simple, like, okay, we'll go back to Rogan, like, oh yeah, the Fear Factor guy who does like MMA shit.
Yeah.
No,
it's a
with
really
you.
interesting thing.
You're a wonderful person who I've loved knowing in my life, but like, who is Tiger Gruber and why should people care?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point, and I would directly say I get so bored from these one-note people who are like, get it? I do a podcast about health or about... I don't listen to a single show that isn't from like an everyman who just like talks to people and has the guest be the aspect of it. I have not a single show on my podcast, like library that I listen to, that I can put in a box. I mean, you can kind of put Joe Rogan in like a...
I feel like you listen to Tim Dillon. He doesn't really have guests very often.
Yeah, I guess he's a comedian, isn't he? But he talks about various different... Like, he's not credentialed to talk about anything.
Damn right.
I mean, I was just talking to Kenzie about it. I'm like, he's built himself... Or maybe it was Dirtball. He's built himself into a box where if he starts being, like, a nice person or kind, people will be like, no, go back to complaining about stuff all the time and be mad. And
it's really like, funny how, like... I think, like... Again, my hyperfixation or whatever, I can relate to just how irrationally mad he'll get at something that doesn't deserve
Absolutely, yeah. That's why we all
fun.
like him. It's crazy that he's like one of the biggest podcasts now. That's astounding.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, he's the highest or like third highest Patreon.
I know, but is it astounding? Like, it seems like very much up the avenue of what I would think
would be big right now.
Yeah.
It's like some like very political, but also both wing and like angry. I guess that goes kind of sad. As I'm like saying it out, I'm like,
we used to call them shock jocks back in the day, but just cringy rhyming phrase that,
So as this show is still very impromptu, is there anything in this room that would make you more comfortable? I'm realizing that I get a very gorgeous sight. You have like, because this is also kind of like my room. Like, is there something that's distracting or like what would you change about this?
I think I have a great sight. I have a great view. Yeah,
you feel comfortable.
Really
I feel like a guest wants to be like close to a door. Like psychologically,
I guess that's true.
What makes people comfortable? It's like the whole thing about the Eric Andre show. It's like there's a big person standing right behind the guest. It's like that makes people uncomfortable. I mean, if Kenzie was just lording over you standing right there, you'd be like, just looking back constantly, So I'm like, I just want to, my goal is, and especially now that video's involved, dude, I do not realize how much of a thing it is to have video. I mean, your show's had video from the start.
Yeah.
But fuck, having to care about the background and the lighting is so much more work than just setting up mics like I used to.
Yeah, which is why I do my shit outside as much as I can. You know, not have to worry about lighting nearly as much. I mean, you still do.
Yeah.
But like, it can be. I mean, you don't have to lug equipment around. You don't have to, you know.
What's crazy is iPhones are nicer cameras than these actual like 4K Sony cameras.
Yes, they are.
If I could just have an iPhone that could auto switch, I would. Because like if we have a really sunny day and then it gets dark, they don't adjust as well as iPhones do. So it's like I have to maybe even go in and kind of edit some footage, which is something I am so trying to stay away from. As you can tell, I mean, Kenzie's here for an hour every day if this just becomes a daily show. I'm going to work up to it just so everyone, like, just to speak right to the camera. This will eventually become a daily show.
My uncle, who I saw recently kind of like together at my dad's deathbed, he has won an Emmy Award and he's worked for 60 Minutes. And he was like kind of talking about the iPhone with me because like, you know, he's got all these really great cameras, lenses. He's a super gear nerd about it. And, you know, I was basically saying the best thing I have that shoots in 4K is my iPhone 11 Pro Max. Yeah. And I've got this DJI gimbal that I can use for, you know.
We have a DJI gimbal as well.
Yeah. Sick.
It's dope.
Yeah, they're super fun.
I got it and I gave it to Kenzie because I like the handheld shakiness.
Is it the OM3 or the OM4?
4. It's got the magnet.
With me.
Nice. Yeah, we took a case like this and we just put the magnet on the back of the case so we can like pop it on and off.
So butter.
Because when you're going like 40.
Yeah, the sticky circle, right? Not like the clampy one.
Yep.
Nice.
Fuck the clamp.
Yeah, that's on my other phone. But on the 11 Pro Max, this is just my 11 Pro that I just...
Damn.
Yeah.
2 iPhone guy.
2 iPhones.
2 iPhone, they, he, she. There's something about going fast in a car with a gimbal. It like causes a little fluttering, which looks horrible. So I end up just holding it manually.
Okay.
And so she's the gimbal person. And we, like, even though like I'm like a contractor for Arcimoto, it's kind of like they're hiring both of us because she's not currently in school. Like her school's starting up soon. I mean, she's been here the whole time. We haven't talked at her once. If she talks, I'm going to yell.
What are we doing? What are we doing with the schools? The schoolies.
Going to it.
Good.
Participating.
I like it.
Yes.
Good. You don't gotta tell me shit. It's cool. It's fine.
What
I'm just a nerd about it.
I
used to do like college guidance stuff for like high schoolers and be like really like nerdy about like fit and like what like you know.
Yeah. You just try to talk people into dropping out. College is like the worst decision you'd ever make. You just want to go in debt. It'd be a funny skit.
College ruined my life.
It's funny that you could almost like be
the one I chose and like all the circumstances around it. Yeah, no, that shit was whack.
Start a podcast. That'll get you a job. You every single student coming out of that high school starts a podcast instead of going to college. We're gonna have to let you go here, Tommy. I don't know what you're doing. You're not following the protocol.
Nice.
Ice.
Do you see me just spill water all over?
I was like, ice you must have been saving your throat from ice again. But yeah.
Yeah, I was trying my best because the little the ices are little small shards now, and they're no fun.
Yeah, we got 2 kinds. We got the balls, which don't come out of the container. So if you're trying to buy a ball of ice, don't do it. And we bought these big ass square ones because like whenever I'm at a place, I say no ice for 2 reasons. 1, I might choke on it, and 2, like not choke, but like just uncomfortable. I'm like, but 2, the bigger reason is it's like watering down your bevy. Like like if you say no ice, you get like at least 20% more beverage.
Oh. Some places are just
80% cruel
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Dutch bros.
They're literally
on,
just
what
like,
doing?
Fuck this person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like you drink it all in like 3 sips and it's just caked with ice. You're like, well, that's not. Yeah, that's not very fun. The ice. The whole thing is the drinks are cold enough.
That's a lie. They need to make laws about that. They really should.
No more than 3 ships.
You're paying for a product.
Yeah.
Imagine if like Apple was just like, okay, you open the box, 40% of an iPhone.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, you'd be like, no packaging on this one.
Yeah.
You get the full iPhone. But yeah, thank you very much for being. We hit an hour.
Cool. I figured we would do that. Yeah, and you would be like,
get the fuck out.
Yeah,
no, I'm kidding. No, I really enjoy having you here. Thank you for being.
I wish you all the best with your show. As much as I was like almost shit talking it, I'm very excited for you to. I'm sure you'll have episodes that are really, really like, you know, transcendently awesome. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, hopefully
keep it real
with bigger tapestries. And as a quick out, Kenzie will hit the gong. Thank you very much for tuning in. Again, this is 115 of Talks with Tyger with Thomas Hiura.